A couple of weeks before the 8th grade graduation, when we needed to have suits and look sharp for the girls at our 8th grade graduation, I had this idea that I should start a fire in one of the stoves in our house, one of the wood stoves in our house. And so it was cold in that morning, and I wanted to rush this fire. I wanted it to happen fast. And I went outside the house, and there was a container of gasoline. And so I took this gasoline and poured it inside the stove. I thought it would act like kerosene. And I poured it inside there, and I took a match, and I threw it in there, and it exploded in my face. It burned me. My hair was burned off, just in the front, like it is now. I don't know. My hair was burned, singed rather, and my arms were burned, and there were big blisters on my arm, and it was a mess. And my aunt grabbed me and took me to the hospital in Springfield, Missouri, and I was. It was very difficult, and they were preparing me for, these doctors would come in and they would say, you should know that these Band-Aids you're going to have scars on your arm, and so, they had this wrapping in there, and it was in a children's ward, burn unit ward, and so I thought, okay, great, and my mom, I knew that they couldn't afford it, but it was a sad time for me. And one night, when I was in this room, there was an old nun, St. John's Hospital in Springfield, Missouri. There was an old nun dressed in white nun garb. And she came into the room, and she blessed my arms. And that was it. The next day, they took out the Band-Aids, and there were just little blisters, very small, water blisters. This is all it was on my arm. And the doctors were so upset, and everybody was, nobody was happy. And like I thought they should have been. Nobody was happy. They were all upset, and I said, wow, I thought it was a miracle. And I asked someone, who was that nun that was in here? And the people said, oh, the nuns haven't dressed like that in, 30 years, nuns don't dress like that anymore. And I went, well, thank you. That's what happened to me. And they sort of dismissed it. Or maybe it was a dream I had or something. But I don't know what it was. But this is something that I call something from the eternal touching my life.